You know how every home has that one spot, the place you think about throughout the day where you can finally exhale? For me, it's my bed. But here's the funny thing, it's not just my bed anymore. Be honest, who in your house tries to sneak into your bed the most? At mine, it's a toss up between my husband and my daughters. And I get it, like it's technically my husband's bed too, but it's my bed. But I get it because of the Cozy Earth sheets, and I have the silk comforter and the linen duvet cover on the silk comforter. It's like being the VIP lounge of the house. It's like sleeping on a cloud and being wrapped in a cloud hug. And I just love it so much. In fact, as I'm sharing this with you, I want to go and lie in bed right now. Their sheets, as I've shared with you, are made from viscose from bamboo and they naturally wick away heat and moisture so you sleep several degrees cooler. That means even on those nights when it feels impossible to get comfortable, I actually wake up refreshed. Thank goodness, because I need to wake up feeling that way. And it's not just the blanket. Of course, you can get any of their blankets, like the bubble cuddle blanket, or as I've shared, I have the silk comforter. It's a really true full on experience. The bubble cuddle blanket, in fact, has such a plush texture and mid weight feel that it's perfect for curling up in the bedroom or draped across the couch as a cozy centerpiece for all of your guests. And we're approaching fall, which is my favorite season, and then winter is my second favorite season. So that means that it is the perfect time to cozyify, as I like to say, your homes. And honestly, it makes those mornings when you just can't get out of bed even harder. And that's kind of the point. When life feels stressful, that's the spot I can't wait to retreat to. My Cozy Earth bed feels different. It's where my comfort and comfort for my family lives. And once you try it, I guarantee you'll never want to go back. The best part, of course, is that there is zero risk. You get a 100-night sleep trial. So if you don't love it, you can send it back, though I promise you won't want to. There is also a 10-year warranty because once you feel this level of comfort, you want it to last. So do yourself a favor, head to cozyearth.com and use my code HUMANHR for 40% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, let them know that you heard about Cozy Earth right here, because your bed should be more than just a place to sleep. It should be your happy place too. Cozy Earth makes that possible. Welcome to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast. I'm Traci Chernoff, and I've spent my entire professional career in HR. Each week, we'll explore the delicate balance between people and business with the aim to reconnect the two and create meaningful outcomes. Listen in as I share my own experiences, challenge the status quo, and chat with guests from various industries about our mission to bring the human back to human resources. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast. Thank you so much for being here for another week. This week, we're breaking out pom-poms, folks, because it's all about cheerleadership. I have someone who I've been very excited to record with because she has fun all the time, at least from my perspective. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest this week. Her name is Stefanie Adams. She is a keynote speaker, author, leadership development consultant, former elected official, adjunct university instructor, wife, mother, and energy generator. She has over 20 years of experience leading and training in the corporate, nonprofit, and government settings. She earned a master's in education and multicultural education in 2008. And her book, Cheerleadership, hence why we are breaking out the pom-poms, Strategies to Build and Support Human-Centric Workplaces for the Future, was published just last year in 2024 and was awarded a Goody Business Book Award in the HR and Employee Development category. In her role as Chief Empowerment Officer, she provides leadership training, coaching, and keynote presentations to grow the next generation of leaders. Her main areas of expertise are building high-impact teams, first-time frontline manager development, and engaging multi-generational workforces with a focus on millennial and Gen Z employees. That includes me. I am a millennial. And Stefanie's days, by the way, are fueled by coffee, yoga, new challenges, and building relationships. Her passions are developing others, serving the community, Philly sports. I'm a New York sports fan, Stefanie, so we have a little bit of a rivalry there, but we'll have to let it go. We'll just move right past it. That's okay.
Got it.
Travel and managing the chaos that comes with life, kitchen dancing, and bringing positive energy into every room. And I have to attest to this because Stefanie has Fun Fridays on her LinkedIn. And every Friday morning, like LinkedIn is one of the first things that I check after email. And I see it. And it's amazing. And I just love what you do. I love the fun and the energy that you create.
Thank you. That's actually become my favorite thing to do in my role. Leadership doesn't always have to be stuffy. Leadership doesn't always have to be hard. I think that we need to lighten the load and we need to have a good time sometimes and laugh. And laughter is good for us. And that's what Fun Fridays seem to be bringing to people, and I'm having a blast doing it. So I'm glad you
Yes,
enjoy them.
I do. I really do. I really do. And maybe we have to take it back a little bit because there's a reason why cheerleadership is, fundamentally the name of your book and a big
Mhm.
part of kind of your brand, so to speak. Where
Yeah.
does cheerleadership come from?
So I am a 15-year cheerleader and a 5-year cheerleading coach as part of my previous life. And what I started doing concurrently when I was coaching a college team, I was also in the professional world in education and HR. And I started to notice that a lot of the strategies I was using for my cheerleaders were actually really applicable in the professional world. And it really sort of sat in the back of my head. I was like, wow, in the professional world, we have a tendency to bring together 5 people. They're 5 hypos, and we're like, hey, if we get you to work together, this is going to be a fabulous opportunity. We're going to do a great job. You work together, deadline's Friday. We bring those 5 people together, and for some reason, it doesn't go the way that we expected. When I think about that from a cheerleader analogy, I'll use the example of a basket toss. If you're a non cheerleader, what that is it's a stunt where we throw somebody up in the air, they do something cool up in the air, and hopefully someone catches them when they come back down. I would never, as a cheerleading coach, allow my team to do a basket toss on day one without having learned about each other, found out about each other's strengths, help them learn to communicate with each other, build trust, because cheerleading stunts take a lot of trust. Cheerleading stunts take a lot of applicable skill sets and people being placed in the right positions. So I would never do that in cheerleading. Why do we do that at work? We put people together, we assume that they're going to be successful, and they're not. So your role as the cheerleader or coach of your team is really about bringing your teams together, helping them connect, helping them care about each other, helping to challenge them to be the best versions of themselves, help them to celebrate the small wins and the big wins. And if we do all of those things, we help to inspire. And those are the 5 themes of cheerleadership: connect, care, challenge, celebrate, and inspire.
I love that. Well, I did know that you came from a cheerleading background. So I can appreciate that, in your Fun Fridays, you're always breaking out the pom poms too. But when you bring that analogy or you create
Mm-hmm.
that analogy between, your experience in cheer, 20 years of experience all around, and you bring it back to the workplace, I think it's really applicable because whether
Mm-hmm.
someone was a cheerleader or not, I was not, but I played sports my whole life. There is something there when you think about like the sport that you did play or the team that you were on earlier in
Mm-hmm.
life. All of those things that we learn, all of the things that our coaches taught us are really
Mm-hmm.
relevant. And it's a weird thing that we go from having these experiences of listening to coaches and becoming the best versions of ourselves in that sport or that, club environment. And then we move into the workplace and it's almost like you only get that sometimes. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on the leader that you have or it depends on the
Yeah.
company that you work for. And it feels like there's a missed opportunity to just keep that going and to keep having
Well,
coaches.
and if you think about the fact how much interdepartmental collaboration is required in today's work, right? We are not working in solitude. Now, it feels that way sometimes with the remote environment, but truly, to get anything done, we need each other. And so in cheerleading, you quite literally cannot create a wow moment on the court unless you work together and understand each other's strengths, support each other's gaps, communicate well. And so in the workplace, we're expecting our people to work together. And we think that if we just drop them at a conference table together or put them on a Teams meeting together, that they're just going to get it. And it just doesn't work that way. Leaders have to help facilitate those connections to get people to be able to work best together and create innovative new projects, solve problems, and so I think that this idea of being part of a team is so embedded in what work is today, but leaders don't know how to do it. And that's why I wrote Cheer Leadership, was that I wanted to give a playbook essentially of here's some practical strategies you can try to learn about your team, help your team learn about each other. How do you challenge them in new ways? How do you create a culture of feedback where it's okay to make a mistake? It's okay to push back on an idea. We want to create psychological safety for our teams, which I know is, a hallmark of this discussion that you
Yes.
have on your podcast all the time, and it really is. If we're going to make work better, we've got to start figuring out ways to engage our people and let them be part of conversations. if you look at the Gallup, state of the workplace that came out in 2025, engagement hit its lowest percentage in the past 10 years. I think it was 30%, and 19% of employees are actively disengaged. And when I think about that, it's so sad. People are coming to work and phoning it in. We want people in our organizations that are excited about what they're doing, feel like they are part of a mission. And as
Mm-hmm.
leaders, we have to help them get there sometimes because work can be really hard. Humans are messy, but there's a lot of great stuff there, and we have to tap into that.
Totally. It's really bringing me back to something that you said just a little bit earlier, which was around the basket toss, and that you wouldn't
Mhm,
put someone in that position on day one, and you
mhm,
wouldn't have them doing that or performing that on day one because there's no understanding of the team's strengths. And so when I
correct.
think about that, um, one of the things that I often think about, that one of my best leaders that I've ever worked for
Mhm,
did frequently, was talk about the team's strengths. We did a
mhm,
whole, strengths assessment, and we understood what people, naturally had as their
mhm.
strengths. And we, rather than saying, okay, let's build up on the things that you're not as strong at, there was a focus on, let's lean into the strengths, which I
Mhm.
really subscribe to, because those are things that are so innate in us, the things that we
Yep.
do really well, or that are again part of our strengths. And so there was always this reiteration of what each member of the team did really well, and how we could leverage those strengths with all of the things that we did.
Yep.
And that's, to me, it's kind of a lost art. It's not lost, but it's being found. And obviously through your book and the work that you do, you're helping leaders to remember that everyone brings something unique to the team, including
Yep.
themselves, and that they have to lean into that. And so often, businesses are moving really quickly. Problems that need to be solved really fast. And there isn't that strategy, like, oh, who's going to be really good at
Yep.
solving this problem? Who's going to have the right strength for addressing this? And that's what they
And I
need to
also
focus on.
I also think too that leaders have to recognize that it's not one size fits all. Just because
Right.
you have two people on your team that are really great at producing spreadsheets doesn't mean that they are motivated by the same thing. Doesn't mean that they are both looking for the same type of promotional status in the future. Getting to know your people as individuals, that is where the true power comes from. And understanding their strengths, understanding their fears, understanding their triggers. What are the things, if someone comes late to work, why does that tick this person off so much? Well, maybe they were always left by their mother at the mall. That happened to me all the time.
Mm.
She was always late picking me up, so like I'm
Thanks,
always going to
mom.
be right. I always want to be on time because I know how it made me feel, right? When
Mm.
somebody wasn't. So I think that being able to lean into that and seeing, yes, I have a team of people, but I can't lead them the same. They bring different things to the table. How do I help them grow those parts of themselves? But also, part of what we need to do as leaders is we have to challenge them to get outside of the box that they think that they've put themselves in. I hear all the time, like, oh my gosh, because I do public speaking as part of my
Right.
job, and people will come up to me and be, aren't you terrified to go up there? And I mean, public speaking is a bigger fear for most people than death, like,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah. People are
blows my mind.
petrified. Yeah, I
Petrified
know.
of it. But
Yeah,
public speaking is something we all have to do if we are going to continue to proceed professionally, right?
true.
To some extent. So you as the leader have to be able to identify within your people, okay, I understand that standing in front of a group of 6 of us is scary for you, but let's give you some opportunities to maybe get you in front of 3 of us first. Let's talk about what you did well. Let's talk about where you could improve. And then let's expand that circle a little bit. I believe you can do it. And challenging them to do things that they don't know they're capable of. And I got to see that as a cheerleading coach. You would start with a fairly simple stunt, someone that was new to being what we call the up person is the flyer,
Mm.
someone that had never flown before. You give them the skills that they need, you give them the mentoring from other experienced flyers, and you take it step by step. You make building blocks. By the end of the season, we would have a non flyer that had never been in the air before doing death defying stunts across a floor or in a competition mat. That's what we have to do at work. We've got to encourage, we've got to support when things are not going well. What do they need to fix those gaps? And how do we keep pushing them a little bit further to help them see what they are capable of?
Yeah, I was thinking about, first of all, the show Cheer. I'm sure this comes
Yes,
up
love
every
it.
time. I loved
Yes.
that show. And I know that there were a lot of crazy, unfortunate things that kind of came
Hmm.
to light as a result of that show. And I don't think it's on Netflix anymore, or at least like they're
Mm-mm.
not doing any more seasons. I
Yeah.
did love that show though. But something that I thought about was the commitment that ever, like, there was always a focus on commitment from
Hmm.
each participant, from each athlete. And you
Yeah.
could tell when there were people who were not as committed, and the way that
Hmm.
impacted the team, the way the
Yeah.
coaches felt, and the way it impacted their own performance. And
Yeah.
I think about that in relation to what you just shared, because you're
Hmm.
talking about providing skills training and upskilling and mentorship
Hmm.
and coaching and all of these things that are relevant in sports and equally as relevant in the workplace, as we know.
Yeah.
Um, and yet there is still so much emphasis on that individual commitment, because you could
Hmm.
give someone all of that. But if they're not interested in growing, developing, doing more with their careers, and it doesn't necessarily mean like a vertical growth, it could be
Hmm.
mean that their skills are being expanded on and being strengthened and within their current role. But it's just, it's an important reflection point that everyone involved in that equation needs to be equally as committed, the most important commitment coming from the individual.
Well, and I also think that in order to help them get there, we have to help make sure that they feel connected to the mission of the organization.
Right.
What part are they playing in this monster plan of this Fortune 500 company? What is me sitting here having this customer conversation doing for the output for the organization? Helping them see they are a part of something larger, bigger, and then also, so there's the connection to the mission, but I think more important are, if we want to talk about human centric leadership, humans want to be seen. We want to be valued. Whether my job is to turn a widget 15,000 times a day, or my job is to present to 1,500 people and inspire them, to greatness, whatever my job is within an organization, we want to be seen. And so knowing that I matter, knowing that what's going on in my life outside of work is impacting how I lead, how I work with others, how I'm communicating. Recognizing that is so important. And, I use that as another, analogy with cheerleading. If one of my girls came into practice and they were visibly upset, I would not let them stunt, because there were literal health aspects of this. And I have had to call parents before when I've had a cheerleader hit the floor and we had to go to the hospital. It was
Mm,
awful. So
yeah.
I always wanted to make sure everyone was in a good place to be able to achieve whatever that highest level of performance was every day. So what that meant is, if someone came in and they were distracted, unfocused, mad, I had to pull them aside and have that conversation first. Maybe they're failing chemistry. Maybe their parents just cut them off financially. Maybe their boyfriend cheated on them. Whatever it was that was distracting them was taking away from their ability to be a contributing member of the team. And quite literally, someone could get hurt because of that. The
Yeah.
same thing happens at work. We have people going through divorce. We have people that are sandwiched between caregiving their parents and caregiving for their children. We
Mm,
have people that are dealing with medical issues that we know nothing about, mental health issues. So, understanding and reading your people, seeing it before you're pulling them to the table and saying, hey, we've got to work on this project. I need all your focus. Find out what's going on. One of the things that I talk to leaders about, especially in one on ones, I encourage them to have a burning issues agenda item as number one. Burning issues means you have 5 minutes to talk about whatever the heck is going on in your life. Maybe you are presenting to the C suite at the end of this week and you want to talk about it. You're nervous. Great. That could be very professional and that could be part of the conversation. But maybe your cat threw up on the carpet this morning and it left a stain and you're mad, and
right.
you just need to like release that, because we can't focus on the things that are necessary for work when all this other stuff is floating around us. And we've got to get to a place that we can't, work and like and personal, they are not separate. They overlap.
Right.
We've got to learn how to make them flow together, acknowledge when one of them is impacting the other negatively or positively, and make it okay to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%. I second what you say. And especially now when people are, working hybrid or remote, everything is so blurred,
Hmm.
and people are working way more than they used to because of, email and Slack or Teams or whatever people have on their phone to
Hmm.
connect with people constantly.
We're
Um,
bombarded.
yeah, yeah, it's impossible to draw a line, and it's really quite unhealthy, actually. But
Hmm.
speaking of the impact of work and personal things, I know there's certainly a lot that we can talk about in terms of the changing energy at work
Hmm.
and what
Yeah.
that looks like. So why don't you walk us through that?
So I think it's important. So even today, the choice of a bright pink shirt and a white blazer, bright colors bring positive energy. So I have a yellow pom pom. It's going to make people smile. I know that your listeners that are listening to this can't hear that, but
They can watch on
you
Spotify or YouTube
they
and
can.
see. Break out
There
their
you
own
go.
pom poms.
Bring out the pom poms. But as a leader, it is sometimes our responsibility to help get the vibe right for work. And so, if we walk into a conference room and we have to deliver bad news, if we are coming in with our shoulders down, we're looking down at the floor, and everything is very sort of closed down, very clearly everyone in that room is going to tense up because they know something bad is coming. If we come in and with a gentle smile and say, good morning, everybody, glad everybody's here today. We've got some important things that we need to talk about. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have to talk budget cuts or whatever. But how you enter that room is going to change how people accept the information that's coming. You can either freak them out on the front end, or you can either come in at least with a positive vibe and make it problem solutions focused versus we're not going to be able to get through this. So changing energy can be as simple as what is your body language doing in a conversation? If you're sitting in a
Hmm.
one-on-one meeting and someone is sharing an issue with you that they've had with someone else on the team and they're complaining about someone else on the team because they're having conflict. If you're looking at them with like a raised eyebrow and like lips are kind of curled up, like whatever, you're not listening to them or you
Right.
don't believe them. They're not going to be willing to open up and have a real conversation with you. So change the energy. Hey, tell me more about that. That really sounds like it's impacting you today. And I want to understand why, and tell me more about the conversation that was had and why did that get to you so hard? So changing the energy that way. There is very like obvious ways to change energy. If you are on deadline and everyone is working hard to get to that Friday 5 o'clock deadline that you've got to get that final product in, and you can see everyone starting to feel drained, put on hype music. Put on music that makes people get up. We need to move. We need to shake, get the blood flowing again. Because when we sit at our desks, we're staring at our computers all day long. Our energy just goes with it. It continues to
Hmm.
go down. So encourage a walking meeting midday. Put on some fun music and tell people to get up and dance. And if you're in a remote setting or a hybrid setting, throw the music on, tell everybody to link up and tell them we're all going to dance on camera just for a couple seconds. It will make people feel better. Even my pom-poms, in 15 years of being in like the professional space, I have always had a set of pom-poms in my office. And when somebody would come to me and they were having an awful day, you could see it just by the body language when they walked in. I would hand them a set of pom-poms and they would look at me and they're like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, shake it. Just shake it. So they start with a little like light shake, and then it turns into like they start to move, and then they're like, "Oh, okay," and the dancing sort of starts. Now they're smiling, and when we are in a better headspace, we are able to talk through problems. We are able to have vulnerable conversations. Change the energy, change the vibe. If you're coming from a place of negativity, it's really hard to get into a solutions focused mindset or a
Hmm.
growth mindset. So we've got to pull people out of that the sky is falling mentality. And sometimes it's just something as simple as moving or tell me what could go right in this situation. Shifting the conversation,
Yeah.
shifting the energy. Let's go towards a positive outlook versus the sky's falling.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love all of that. And thank you for showing us and demonstrating the pom pom experience.
There it
And
is.
there it is. Now everyone knows. It's really it brings me to again something that one of the best like leaders that I'd ever had. What she often would say, which is like you have to infuse levity into the work environment.
Yeah.
And it's kind of pretty much exactly what you're saying, which is that people have to find ways to have fun. And they like
Mm-hmm.
work is hard. Sometimes, depending on the industry someone works in, the work can be very intense,
Yeah.
and potentially life altering for some people, again, depending on
Mm-hmm.
industry. And so I think about the ways that leaders, to your point, can infuse this type of energy that creates a sense of like breathability and breathing room so that they can
Mm-hmm.
still accomplish all of the things that they have to do, but not at the detriment of their own well-being or their experiences or their happiness or whatever that kind of looks like. And when I think about your advice to listeners around how, if people, whether they're delivering bad news and how they approach that, or whether they have a team that's just kind of like weighed down,
Mm-hmm.
like how you just like lift that up. And it's so relevant even in like our personal lives. We all know someone
Mm-hmm.
who is like overtly negative, and how
Yep.
that feels when they're negative, and how we
Mm-hmm.
interact with their own experiences, and how, if we're someone who's more optimistic, how it feels to even be involved in that type of conversation. And there is
Mm-hmm.
so much influence that we can have. At the end of the day, people do also have to find ways to lift themselves, but in
Yep.
the in the environment, and being surrounded by other people who take these practices to lift others up, or to infuse levity or fun, or
Mm-hmm.
these elements of cheerleadership into the environments that they're in, it can really help to change. I mean, obviously change the energy as we're talking about, but really just
Mm-hmm.
change the entire narrative and experience for people.
Yeah, and I think, one thing that I do want to add to that, a lot of people think cheerleading is toxic positivity, right? We are just moving forward, everything's great. And it's not. Our lives are complicated, our work is complex. We face hard things every day, personally and professionally. What cheerleadership does is build connections that allow for trust, because we've got to trust each other to be able to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that means, hey, I really didn't like how we interacted on that last project together. I felt that you were speaking down to me, and being able to say those things. I want to make sure that we fix that the next time we're partnered together.
Hmm.
Let's talk about what are some of the ways that you communicate, and I'll tell you how I like to receive feedback. And just, it's not about everything's great and let's ignore any problems. You have to confront the tough stuff. You have to have brave conversations. But if you truly understand each other, if you've truly connected and are working towards something as a team, then you are going to be able to have those honest conversations in a way that's not meant to demean, it's not meant to manipulate, it's not meant to embarrass, it's
Hmm.
meant to bring us all up and make sure that we're all being successful. So, toxic positivity is a word, that we saw thrown around a lot, during COVID. And I got it a lot. I was on a school board at the time. And, being on a school board chair at the height of COVID is not a great place to be.
Hmm.
Hence why I'm a former elected official. But, one of the things that, because people are like, gosh, she's always so positive. Yes, because the world felt really dark. And,
Hmm.
it was very easy to get swallowed into that black hole of, we don't know what's going to come out of this. But I also believe, what are we learning? What are we getting to experience in this moment? And I think that as a leader, even during budget cuts, even when we lose a really important member of the team, even when we lost a customer that we really wanted to land, what did we learn in that moment? Turns it from, God, this sucks, to, this was a great opportunity for us to do it better next time.
Right. Right. Fun fact, I also was on the school board.
Were you really?
I was
Holy cow.
from
During COVID?
2016 to 2021 or 2022. Yeah, it's 2020, maybe 2021, like the fall of 2021, something like that.
Tracy, how did I not know that? Oh my gosh. We've got to talk about this
Surprise,
offline.
surprise. I know. I was still living at home because, I was focused on paying off my student loans, and I was
Uh-huh.
not yet engaged to my now husband. And so I was like, I loved being involved. I really was like very
Yeah.
excited about running and then being elected and all of that. And I really felt like I was able to make a difference. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, fun fact.
Yes.
I know
And
I
I'm
should
sure you
probably
learned a lot.
I did. I learned so much. And the people that I worked with fortunately were amazing, or who I was on the board with were amazing.
Hmm.
But beyond that, it was definitely very interesting during COVID, going from,
Yeah.
being in the boardroom versus being online and virtual, and having to like make all of these decisions over Zoom. It was weird, but we
Yeah.
adapted. Yeah. But either way, I mean, I just to kind of close this loop, I really think that there's so much that everyone can walk away with,
Hmm.
and to feel inspired by that. It's not about toxic positivity, even though
Hmm.
I have certainly been told that like sometimes my positivity can seem that way, that it's like
Hmm.
everything is great all the time. But that if that's what someone's walking away with, they're not listening, because
Yeah.
it's not that everything is great all the time. It's that how you look at problems can determine the outcome of the
Hmm.
solution that you apply to it. And I just
Hmm.
believe that. I believe that,
Yeah.
it's like if you have a positive mindset, more positive things happen. And
It's well,
I don't know.
Well, and
Call
the
me
other part of
delusional.
this, no, I'm 100% on board. And I actually think there's a lot of research that backs that up. And so like one of the things, I like to talk about happiness at work, and like, a lot of leaders will be like, I don't care if my people are happy. And I'm like, oh gosh, you need
God.
to,
Be an
because
individual contributor then.
right, exactly.
Nobody
But,
wants to work for you.
there was a study that came out of University of Warwick a couple years ago, and it was, happy people are 12% more productive at work, and they're healthier. They have better interpersonal communication. If you look at Sean Akers' study, he's the founder of, he wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage.
Mm.
He found that people that are happy are more successful, not that successful people are happy. So if we're looking to build teams that are achieving and contributing and building, we want people to be happy at work. There is ROI tied
Yes.
to happiness. I'm not saying work has to be fluff. We don't have time for fluff, but we do have time to engage our people, to learn about our people, to value our people in the ways that they want to be valued. And that will help create loyalty, engagement, happiness. And if it's getting a pom pom out from time to time, I
Get that pom
encourage you to
pom
do
out.
so.
Yeah, get that pom pom out. I love it. One last question for you before we wrap up. I'm curious, what if someone comes to you and says, I work in a very serious organization. Everyone's
Mhm.
very serious, and we have a few laughs, but very serious, and like
Yeah.
very little room for fun and levity and all that stuff. What would you recommend to them if they wanted to infuse or change, infuse some fun, but also like change the energy at their workplace?
So great question. I work with a couple clients that work in industries that would not be considered fun and energetic, and they tend to be in the tech and science space. But
Yeah.
what I will say is that figure out what does fun mean to your team. And so, I'm a huge fan of surveys. And so ask people, if we were going to do something fun, what would that be to you? And let them determine, well, fun would be PTO time.
Right.
Fun may be having lunch together. Fun may be having an opportunity to sit down and have a sit down with the CEO face to face. Fun may be we go bowling as a team, during work hours. But talk to your people first. What is fun to them? Because try and find that middle ground. And then fun doesn't have to be running around with pom poms or some event. Fun literally can just be smiling and complimenting somebody on something good they did, celebrating the small stuff, putting a post-it note on someone's computer screen. Thanks for jumping in and subbing for so-and-so last week when they were out. Really appreciated you. That helps build fulfillment, value, fun. And so, I think that you're going to always have that cheerleader on the team. I've always been that cheerleader. And when you have that person, lean into them, because I do think that they help other people sort of loosen up. I'm amazed when I walk into a room with pom poms, it gives other people permission to get up
Mm-hmm.
and be themselves and do something that they may not normally do. So if you model it, other people will start to come along and be like, oh, I can loosen up a little bit. I
Yeah.
can I can smile at that joke. That everything's I'm good.
Yeah.
So
I think
find
that's
out
a
what
great point.
yeah. Yep. So model
Sorry, I
it
cut you
and
off.
find out what they want. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Model it and find out what they want. I think that's
mhm.
Great advice, very sound advice. In fact, everything that you've shared has been sound advice. So with
Well,
that,
thanks.
yeah, of course. I'm so glad that you came on the podcast. Like I said, I was really looking forward to joining. Where can everyone find you, get a copy of your book, and also see all of your fun Friday posts on LinkedIn?
Sure. So the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, anywhere that you find books. Was published by Amplify Publishing. If you want to connect with me, which I would love, you can find me on LinkedIn at Stefanie Z Adams, and that's Z as in zebra. And yes, when I met my husband and his last name was Adams, I was like, I
You
am
went
going from the end to the beginning because
That's
my
right.
maiden name was Zubrick. I was like, I'm in.
All of your kids went from, instead of where
Yes,
your experience, you were
I was the
last
end
in
of the
graduation,
line.
right? So now they're at the top.
Yes.
I went from R to C, so I
See,
also
you
I
jumped the
climbed.
line.
I jumped the
Yep.
line.
Yep. So Stefanie Z Adams on LinkedIn. On Instagram, you can also find me at WNY People Development and at Corporate Cheerleader.
Amazing. Well, we'll have
Yeah.
all of those links linked in the show notes which the listeners are definitely accustomed to at this point. So for everyone listening, please connect with Stefanie. She really is such an amazing follow. I'm really, and my final point on this, like you talked about how if you model it, it gives other people permission. And I really think it's true. Like on LinkedIn, where things can be like really heavy, people are posting a lot more personal things that are also really heavy now. And I'm like, how did I get on this algorithm? I just want to see the good stuff. Like, but it's like it really does give people permission. And I have to say, as someone who, tends to kind of avoid social media sometimes, it's like I have to be in it and then I avoid it because it's like uncomfortable. It does remind me that like, oh, you're on there, you're dancing, you're shaking pom-poms and doing this fun Friday thing, and like I could do something fun like that too if I wanted to.
You could.
And yeah, so I love that you're not just saying model it, you're actually modeling it. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It was my pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. And really excited for all the listeners to gain these insights.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, just before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this show so that you are the first to hear when an episode drops each week. And maybe leave a 5-star review and a comment about how much you loved this episode. Plus, if you have someone in mind who would really enjoy this episode, make sure you share it with them. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.